We have a massive New York Jets update as the report has revealed a new target for the New York Jets who has connections to both Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey, a guy who would fit in perfectly with this new regime and cover the New York Jets in a major position of need, and we are going to break all of this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And guys, if you are part of that 73% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe. Do it right now, as it says below, right now, because if you do, then I will post the first ever YouTube short to Jets Digest, where I'll probably just find a way to annoy Matt when I'm hanging out with him later today. Guys, make sure to subscribe, but more importantly, let's talk with the New York Jets. That's really what matters here. We don't really care about the other stuff. Look, Darren Mougey has an interesting strategy with the offseason, going for more under-the-radar guys who have something to prove or fit in well with the whole we want personalities, not players vibe. And with that being the Jets' goal, he's succeeded very, very well. Now the New York Jets, there's still multiple positions of need, and the biggest one arguably being wide receiver is something the New York Jets have to cover. They obviously have Garrett Wilson, a true wide receiver one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Outside of that, things kind of take a dip. Outside of Garrett Wilson, you don't have much to love with the Jets wide receiver room. You have Allen Lazard, who's a fine option if he sticks around with the team, but is looking for a trade. Xavier Gibson, who's a return guy. Malachi Corley, who didn't show much of anything last season as a rookie. Then guys like Tyler Johnson, who was recently signed. Irv Charles, who's back with the Jets. Brandon Smith, Aesop Winston, Marcus Riley, and Ontario Wilson, a bunch of guys who will not really see the field for the Jets at all. So the New York Jets, they need a wide receiver too, which is probably going to be done by committee. And well, a new target has been added. Now, shout out to Jets X Factor for writing an awesome article that we're taking some stuff from. Now, they mentioned that the Jets do not appear to be aiming for a tank season, which is sort of true. They would have traded away their best assets already. They clearly want to be somewhat competitive in 2025 and build up this culture. Thus, it's imperative for Darren Mougey to fill out the rest of these roster holes before week 1. And the Jets obviously need more depth at wide receiver. Even if they do not make a large investment to definitely fill the starting spot across from Garrett Wilson, the Jets simply need more players with some degree of proven NFL floors to raise the unit's collective floor. Enter Josh Reynolds. The 30-year-old free agent remains on the market for multiple reasons, and Reynolds is among one of the best options for the New York Jets as he fits in beautifully with the team. Now, one of these, we're just going to jump right into it. Josh Reynolds fits super well with the New York Jets. He's a cheap option. On top of that, he is tight with both Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey as he played for both the Detroit Lions for a long period of time and also played for the Denver Broncos when Mougey was working there as well, giving the New York Jets a guy who they know well. They know his character. They know who he is. So if he's a good fit for the team, you know the Jets will go inside him. The same deal with Tim Patrick, who ultimately wanted to stay with the Lions, but it's the same deal. A guy who would fit well, and Reynolds would be a good fit with the New York Jets because you look at Josh Reynolds' numbers. He's a bigger guy, 6'3", 192 pounds, gives him a big wide receiver, has one touchdown in his 2024 season when he averaged 14.9 yards per reception with 194 yards and 13 receptions, and only played in 9 games, so don't really look into the yardage too much, and also was trying to bounce back, which he did fairly well. I mean, at the end of the day, he has 20 career touchdowns in 116 games, which is pretty solid. Has 3,127 career yards as well. Reynolds is a solid player who would help the Jets out a lot. I truly believe so. He's been with the Rams. He's been with the Jaguars, the Lions, the Broncos. So he's been around. He's been in multiple different situations, winning situations, non-winning situations, more non-winning situations than winning situations, but he has been on winning teams in the past, and Jet X Factor talks about all of this, bringing up that therefore the goal for the rest of the wide receiver unit is to dominate in their roles, barring a surprising addition of a big-name veteran or selecting a wide receiver in the first round. The Jets will probably not have a true wide receiver 2 this season and will do a collection of wideouts in a committee, each asked to focus on their specialties across a low volume of targets. If these players can make the most of their opportunities, the Jets can replicate production of a star wide receiver 2 in the aggregate. The Detroit Lions executed this model perfectly in 2023, and Reynolds was a massive part of things. So Josh Reynolds would be going back to something he knows how to do. Meanwhile, it would fit in what Aaron Glenn's team's offense was doing in a year where Aaron Glenn was part of the team. Obviously, Tanner Engstrand, the passing coordinator for the Lions at the time, now the Jets offensive coordinator, so very likely we could see them do this as well. And you take a look at Josh Reynolds with the Detroit Lions. In those 3 seasons that he played for the Lions, which wasn't even 3 full seasons, one was 7 games, then 14, then 17, so only 38 games played over his NFL career with the Detroit Lions. He had 97 catches, 1,393 yards, and scored 10 touchdowns in 38 games. He was a very solid player. I mean, averaged 484 receiving yards for the season for a committee wide receiver 2 guy. Reynolds would be a great fit here. Scored a lot of touchdowns with the Lions as well. 2 touchdowns his first season, then 3, and then 5 in the 2023 season before moving on to a new team, or well, 2 new teams between the Broncos and the Jaguars. So Reynolds, he's a perfect fit for the New York Jets. I love the idea of them bringing in Josh Reynolds. I'm a big fan of him. I think he fits really well. He'd fit the culture well. He'd fit the personality test well. So Josh Reynolds would be a guy who the Jets definitely would benefit from having on their team. And also he's cheap, which would help. You don't need to pay too much money to land Josh Reynolds, which would be absolutely huge as well. So this is a move that Darren Mougey's looking at, especially with all these under-the-radar moves. I mean, you get a Brandon Stevens and Andre Sisco. You're getting guys who are trying to prove something. Josh Reynolds is trying to prove that he belongs in the NFL. So this would be a very, very good pickup for the New York Jets. I really, really like the idea of this. I'm talking myself into it, and I truly am curious about what the Jets are going to be doing moving forwards, because they're clearly not going to go for some big wide receiver too, unless they take like a Ted McMillan in the first round or trade back and land a Luther Burden, something like that, which is also possible, but I don't see them drafting a wide receiver in the first round. Maybe they end up going with a Tyler Warren at 7. If they do that, that helps their wide receiver game a lot. The Jets definitely need to cover the tight end game, and we will do some more videos on that. Tyler Conklin met with the Rams today, and it feels like he'll probably sign there, so we could see the Jets losing Tyler Conklin, which would align for Jeremy Ruckert to be the tight end 1. Obviously, that's not exactly what you want out of the New York Jets and their tight end game. Having a Ruckert and Stone Smart tight end group would be interesting, to say the least. But Ruckert would be playing with Justin Fields, who is his college quarterback, which would absolutely have a positive impact on things as well. So just taking a look at all that, it does make perfect sense. I didn't mean to hit that button. But looking at the New York Jets, I am pretty confident in where they are right now with trying to fill the mission that they're trying to fill. Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey made things very clear what they wanted to do. They wanted to get personalities, not players. They didn't want to have a roster. They wanted to have a team. The Jets had a roster last year with no team. Now they want to have a team, and they're building well. I mean, one of the reasons why they brought in Justin Fields is because of the fact that Justin Fields is a great leader. He's a great personality, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, the players, they wanted Justin Fields to stay as a starting quarterback, which says a lot about Justin Fields. So we're going to see how that works, and bringing in a veteran guy like Josh Reynolds, who's been around the block, been on multiple different teams, he'd be able to help the Jets, and especially the young guys who are kind of trying to find their way. Josh Reynolds would be a good voice in the locker room to have, and he'd also just be a good wide receiver. The Jets need more receiving help, and it's not going to end with Josh Reynolds. They're going to need more than that anyway. Yeah, if you go into the season with Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Josh Reynolds as your top 3, it's doable, but it's not great. I'd like to see another guy come in there, whether it's a young up-and-comer or someone who's will give more veteran stability. I want the Jets to go about it either way, but I do want them to go about it in some way of getting more wide receiver help for Justin Fields, so Justin Fields can succeed on the offensive end, and so Garrett Wilson doesn't have to deal with double coverage the entire season, as that's just not great for anyone involved. So hopefully the Jets will do that. I imagine they will. They probably also will draft a wide receiver. I mean, the same thing goes for the whole Jordan Travis situation that Matt and I talk about. It's unlikely that a guy who's a 5th-round pick by a different regime is going to get a real chance with the New York Jets unless he shows something insane. Malachi Corley might be in the same boat, so we could definitely, it's not that we could definitely see the Jets maybe picking a wide receiver. I fully expect the Jets to pick a wide receiver some point within the first 4 rounds. Probably not round 1. It'll probably be a day 2 wide receiver pick, which would be interesting to see as well where they go with that. And we will report on all of it, so stay tuned for that, guys. Once the NFL draft comes around, make sure to subscribe to Jets Digest, like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, guys, and go Jets.